It's the birthplace of motorsport. We're here at the Circuit de Paul Ricard, and it's the French Grand Prix. Thank you so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. This is round 2 of the Tier 1 Formula Championship in ISRL Esports. And my name is IGKX. I'm going to be your commentator for today. No co-commentator today. Balloon Machine not able to make it to the race today, but we are here nonetheless, getting ready and set for action here in Q1. And my name is IGKX. Thank you so much for joining us. And let's get set for action. Just going to listen to myself for a second. Okay, so I'm able to hear myself. That's good. My mic was giving me some problems. Thank you, everybody who was able to be here right now as we get set for 3 qualifying rounds and then the race today, which is a 50% race. I just had to share the stream, and we're ready to get going. And right now, I'm riding on board with Jerome 3205 as he is in the Tier 1 race today. A new driver who was trying to get into the Tier 2 race, but unable to make it in time, so he will be in for the Tier 1 race. And just to go over the order we have right now, 18 drivers. Is Mr. Cool, Jerome, ISRL Lewis, Pubed, Light F1, Do Will, Biz Racing, Sophion, Nathan, Infamous Pillars, ISRL Knight, Jer, Jediant, ISRL Gurman, ISRL Carter, Izat Kush, Sweet Crown 19, and Jamian at the moment. Let's also see, I believe Light is a little bit further up the grid. Yes, he is, and I believe somebody else went out first as well. I thought Kush was, so Kush is still on an outlap. So we're going to ride on board with Light, who is about to begin the first lap of qualifying. So you can see there in that Alfa Romeo Orland car is actually just going into the pits again. So just a little bit of a... Oh, and Light retires from the session. So he went out, went back in and retired. I don't know if he had a qualifying ban. I wasn't too sure about that, but nonetheless, I'm going to ride up Jerome right now, who is about to start his first lap, going into turn 1, missing the apex just a little bit, riding up close there, and then onto the exit. No invalidation from what I can tell. I will bring up the track map so you can see exactly what's happening, and we'll bring up the telemetry right there as well, as he goes through this slow portion of Sector 1, and that's Purple, of course, the first person to go through Sector 1, and then pulling it through that left-hander, now onto the next DRS straight, going down towards the chicane. Very easy to cut a lot of the curb here and not invalidate. Let's see how much he does cut of it. Not as much as I probably would have taken. Getting out onto the exit, pretty good out of the exit, using that curb a little bit there, now using the curb again. Keeping it as close to the edge of the track as possible to maximize the turn-in, coming into this flat right-hand turn, though in qualifying in Tier 3 in the wet, it was not so much so. And now going through Sector 3, let's see what the time's going to be from Jerome, who was talking well about his pace coming into this race. Let's see how he can do in his first qualifying session in ISRL Esports, coming through that right-hander and then a quick left-hander, and then now slowly into the hairpin to end the lap. And let's see what time's going to go on the board. DRS activated. Let's see what the time is going to be. And it's going to be a 1:28.7. And we'll definitely see the times go a little bit quicker than that. Pubed, who was not in the first race, is on track today. And oh, that's a spin from him. And he cooked the tires out of the exit there. And while we had a purple Sector 1, that lap time is going to be aborted. So a little bit of an unorthodox spin from the Williams driver there, teammates of Sweet Crown 19, and he will slow down for another lap at another time as Izat Kush goes in with a 28.5, and then Sweet Crown 19 of a 1:28.2 puts it on the first spot so far. And Sweet Crown 19, defending world champion 2 times in a row, winner in the Austrian Grand Prix, and looking to put on another charge. You can see they're riding with that Benetton Schumacher helmet in that white and blue Williams, and right behind one of the McLarens, I believe that might be Cuship, slowing down each other a little bit. They know each other well. And there's Pubed again. Carter is about to start another lap, who had invalidated. He is in now the black Mercedes as the update finally came through. and that is the all blacked out Mercedes. Of course, Mercedes blacking out their livery for the year 2020 in a fight against discrimination and racism, and they will run the black livery all throughout the year 2020. You can see it on the halo End Racism, and ISRL Esports definitely standing with that statement, which is a statement that is stronger than ever, as that was a purple Sector 1 for ISRL Carter, who has shown a lot of new pace coming into Season 3, and he looks to capitalize that in Paul Ricard. Can he put it further up the grid than he did before? It wasn't a fantastic last session out in qualifying. I believe, in fact, he got knocked out of Q2. Knocked out in Q2, so he will look to get into Q3 this time round. And in the pits right now, the two Red Bull drivers. ISRL Knight had a pretty dismal race, though with a really awesome last lap battle. Of course, the top 15 drivers do score points in this league, ISRL Esports. Top 15 scoring points. So out of the bottom, if you're in the bottom 5, you don't, but better time and better opportunities to battle for position here. As here we go, ISRL Carter about to finish a lap. DRS flap opens. Let's see what the time's going to be from him. And it's a 129.5, and that was not a very representative time, we hope, from his pace, as he is sitting in 6th pot, and I presume he will go down the order just a little bit, as ISRL Lewis in the SF1000 from Scuderia Ferrari is about to cross the line. Let's see what the time's going to be from him. And it's a 135.5, so he had some problems in that lap. Pubed went back into the pits after spinning on his first timed lap. We can see Nathan here in the first sector on an outlap as well. So not a lot of drivers on timed laps right now, as Pubed now on an outlap, or actually looks like he'd be on a... No, he is on an outlap, so the ERS not being drained too much. Pubed, of course, who did not make it to the first race of the season, looking to capitalize and get a lot of points on the board here. Teammates with the world champion, maybe a little bit intimidating for some, but Pubed is not the driver to be intimidated. He will race you hard, and he will race you fast, and he is looking to get some great points on the board in his first outing in the season. There is Duwell in the Haas. Let's talk about Duwell here, who had a really good start to his qualifying sessions, at least in ISRL Esports, but a spin at the beginning of the race sent him way down the order, and ultimately, though, he did finish, I believe, in near the top, I believe 5th or 4th, I believe, so 4th place, I believe, for Duwell. So he had a really awesome race in his first race, and Duwell will be looking to capitalize and get some good points on the board. Biz Racing just came for that flat left-hander going into Sector 3 now. Let's see what the AlphaTauri driver can do. His teammate Jer, who is a challenger for the championship, to say the least, in ISRL Esports, keeping Sweet Crown 19 honest in Season 2, looking with now a full season ahead of him to really put in some good action. And let's see, Biz Racing now coming through that final turn, though quite wide out of the final turn, not quite hitting the apex. That might compromise him a little bit. He's going to come across the line, and he will set a 128.5, and that puts him second, ahead of Mr. Cool, behind Sweet Crown 19. And now Pubed will begin a timed lap. Duwell is going to come across the line, and let's see what this time is going to be from the Haas driver. It's going to be 128.9, pretty respectable, puts him in 7th position. And now there are just 10 without lap times on the board. But Infamous Pillars is now going to make it 11, as he's going to come across the line in the other Haas. And let's see what the time's going to be from Pillars. And there was no time at all. I believe maybe it was invalidated. I wasn't looking too closely. He might have had an invalidated time there. And Nathan coming through that flat right-hand turn. One of the best turns on the track, in my opinion. Though, again, we were qualifying in Tier 3 in the rain, and much harder to get the car situated. Many running dry setups in Tier 3. And that did unsettle the car, especially in that turn. Here's Sophion in the other Ferrari. His teammate only in 8th position with a 129 on the board, so not a great lap time. We also got Drafta in the other Racing Point in the pit lane right now, so he's another driver to look out for, possibly. As I'm riding on board here with Pubed, about to finish his lap, coming to the final turn, hitting the apex beautifully there. back on the exit. Really nicely done through the DRS activator. Let's see what the time's going to be from the other Williams driver. And it's a 128.7. That puts him 5th on the grid at the moment in Q1. So a good first lap outing for him. I'm sure that wasn't the full pace. I'm sure he's got a few more tenths in him, but not pushing too hard in the first session. There goes Sophion into second position in this race, a 128.5. And Sophion, who definitely did not have the race he would have liked to, of course, battling with ISRL Knight on that last lap showdown with ISRL Knight, looking to definitely get inside the top 10, maybe in the top 5 if he can really connect it all together. Tier 1 so very close this season. And I'm going to ride on board here with Jer, who is on a lap right now. It is a valid one at that. Now coming into the penultimate turn here. That slow left-hander followed by the hairpin. Now the final turn. And here we go. Let's see what Jer's going to put on that the other AlphaTauri. Biz Racing in third. And it's looking like a pretty decent lap time. It's going to be a fastest lap time for 128.1, a 10th quicker than Sweetcar 19, and Jer is at the top spot in Q1 so far. Only a few drivers with no times on the board. Carter, the last man with a time, is currently in 14th. And Drofta in 16th, Knight 17th right now, Gurman 18th, and Jamian, though he will go up the order a little bit now as he comes around the final turn. The other Mercedes car, ISRL Carter, his teammate. And let's see what time he can put on the board. Coming across the line shortly, and it's going to be a fastest. That drops Carter into the danger zone there in 15th position, so he wants to make a better lap time for sure because he is in elimination territory, to say the least. You do not want to be on the fringe at the end of the session. With only 6 minutes left to go, a few drivers here who haven't had any luck so far, Knight and Gurman, both not setting lap time so far, and Knight, more qualifying woes for him. And there is Carter, currently sitting 15th, about to start another lap. And Jer went fastest in Q1 so far, 5 minutes and 40 seconds left to go and counting in the session. And he must be pretty happy with his pace so far here at Pro Card. And I'm just going to try to see some of the comments from all of you. Get a little more situated. Trying to at least see the live comments. And there we go. So now we can see. We got Joseph Allison in the chat there. And it's going to be clear weather in the race, reported by ISRL Esports. So our insiders saying clear weather for the race. Knight on an out lap, so is Gurman. And Gurman and Knight do work together quite well. And maybe they can give each other some slipstream. A few drivers, though, on timed laps right now. Jediant is on a lap right now. Jerome is also on a lap. Ahead of them, Jamian about to set another lap time. Let's see what they can put on the board here. Pubed is still in the pit lane, sitting 7th. I think he feels pretty comfortable about where he is. Here is Lewis trying to set another lap time. Now Carter looked like he was down by a 10th in the previous sector. Let's see what he can do. Coming around that final turn, this is probably going to be his final lap of the session. And let's see what the time is going to be coming across the line. And it's a 129.1 that puts him 13th, but still maybe not as comfortable as he would like it to be. And Carter in the danger territory still very much so. And Lewis now is about to finish a lap soon, coming into Sector 3. And if Lewis puts it ahead a little bit more, now Nathan will be in trouble. So will Carter be again. And now Knight down the DRS straight, starting a lap. Let's see what he can do now. Sorry, really in Sector 2. So through the lap will we go now, and through the chicane. And now back up, putting on the power, going into that flat right-hander. And it's Joseph Cozy. Yeah, I know Joseph Allison, Joseph Cozy, depending on what you prefer. And Carter now down to 14th. Lewis put it in P10, so he is really in danger territory, especially with the two Red Bulls who have a lot of pace to show here. as here comes Knight in Sector 3. And Carter must not be comfortable right now if those two Red Bulls who want to set lap times. Drafta also is on a lap right now, so they could be really in danger here. Knight is going to come across the line, and he is going to go 16th only, though. So in danger of getting eliminated here. In fact, he probably will get eliminated because there's only 2 minutes and 40 seconds left to go. He'd have to haul it around for another lap. And Gurman now is also on a lap. Drafta, though, about to come around the final turn. Let's see what happens here. Nathan in P15 could drop down depending on this lap. Well, actually, maybe not. I don't know if that's the right... No, that was a 5-minute 5-minute lap. I believe Drafta might be actually on a lap right now. It didn't tell me it was on an out lap. There is a lot of stuff going on. And here we are with Knight. And I kind of like a co-commentator in the comment section. I don't know if my phone will be happy with me putting it on the whole time. Might die. But Drafta now down to 19th. Light actually, who even though he DNF'd, is currently in 18th. So Drafta has really dropped down the order. And both Red Bulls putting in pretty, let's just say, not so great lap times. 16th and 17th. Nathan in P15, somehow he has kept this going with a 129. And with about 1 minute and 30 left to go in the session, there is Carter into the pit lane. And I believe Knight will get around for one more lap. And he has to get around for one more lap. But there is that pit, there is that light warning for the fuel. So I don't know if he's going to be able to get around another lap with the fuel he has. And he's going to let, I don't know about this one. So he stopped it on track. And then he reversed on track right there. So Knight has stopped. And Knight is let by a driver, and I think he's done. Yep. So I think that, yeah, the car might be on low fuel. And here, this is it for Knight. Low fuel on that Red Bull, not able to make it around for another lap. And he must be devastated. Out again in qualifying. This time it's in Q1. And Gurman's going to try to get around, but I believe he's going to have the same low fuel problem. And the Red Bulls then into the pits. And he didn't even care about going in. And thankfully, I don't believe there's going to be too many issues with penalties in the pit lane. But both Red Bull drivers out in Q1. Nathan is out of Q1. I believe it's Drafta. Yeah, Drafta went the 13th. So Carter just going to make it in. I also want to mention Pubed went second fastest in the session. So he put it way up the order ahead of his teammate, so they're definitely going to be squabbling a little bit in this race, I believe, if the pace is going to be the same. But Q1 is over, and both Red Bulls are out. There's a Racing Point out. There is an Alfa Romeo out. Carter just making it into Q2, but that is major disappointment for the Red Bull outfit. They have just not had it clicking so far in this season, and that's a double... That's a double DQ from Q2. They're not making it in. Jared goes fastest in the session. Pubed in second. Sweet Crown 19 in the top 3. In the top 5 is Sophion. So some good pace for him so far. Very, very close up the order, though. All within a second of each other. In fact, they're all in the 128s except for Carter. Oh, no, Carter go down. Duwill ahead of him. So Carter now knocked out as well. So Carter with major disappointment here in France. He is also out of the session. Duwill has gone ahead of him into the 128s. Wow. Major upsets here in qualifying. Carter is out of qualifying, and then Duwill is 5th fastest. So it's going to be Carter, Knight, Gurman, and Light out of Q1. So Carter must be devastated. Well, he's very disappointed, at least, to be out in Q1. The Red Bulls must be shocked. Light F1 retired at the beginning of the session, so he didn't even try for a lap. But your top 15 are making it in, but it's not maybe a top 15 we totally expected. But with a packed grid like this, full of amazing talent, it's very hard to get into the Q2 spot, it seems. And we are done with this first qualifying session. We'll move the Q2 in just a second. A few drivers are apparently still active on track. I don't know exactly who it is. I think the session just goes out. I think that's what it is. Because I've had this happen before. It's like, why aren't we going? It's because I think the 30 seconds should have to go up. So, going through your order real quick. It's Jer, Pube, Sweet Crown 19, Infamous Pillars, Duwil, Sophion, Biz Racing, Mr. Cool, Isat, Kush, Nathan, Jaron, Jediant, ISRL Lewis, Jamian, and Drafta. Those are your top 15 drivers making it in the Q2. ISRL Carter, ISRL Knight, ISRL Gurman, and Light F1 are out of the first qualifying session here in France. And the double disappointment for the Red Bull drivers. Very, very upsetting for those guys knocked out in Q1. But there's Duwil in his second race now in ISRL, making it into the second qualifying session. So doing really well so far. So if we go down the order here, just to confirm, yep, there is the 4 that have been knocked out of qualifying. And let's get ready now for Q2 action. If you're just joining us, my name is IJKX. You're watching the Tier 1 Championship, round number 2, here at the Paul Ricard Circuit in France. And some drama already as both Red Bulls out of Q1, Carter out of Q1, not what we expected, and also Light F1, who retired at the beginning of the session, out of Q1. So some upsets, to say the least, here in the first part of qualifying. Already drama as we begin Q2. The top 15 now will go to get into the top 10, and then it's going to be a top 10 shootout at the end in Q3. So let's get set here. It's 15 minutes in Q2. Who is going to make it into the top 10? So close. So close in Q1. We'll see how much closer it is in Q2. We might see the elbows come out just a little bit more here in this second qualifying session. And there is a McLaren, and that is Jerome. Or Jerome. I'm going to say Jerome. Jerome is just not happening. And he had to stop there as I believe that was an AlphaTauri, and it was Biz Racing who's going to be the first person out of the pit lane in that Honda-powered AlphaTauri. The pit lane quite dangerous here in France. There's the line. It's just on the line that you would take in the turn 1, so drivers do have to be careful coming out of the pit lane and watching who is coming out of the pit lane, because there could be a pretty catastrophic accident coming in the turn 1 if anybody crosses over that line when somebody's coming out of the pit lane. It's going to be interesting, so drivers are going to have to be careful there. And on their outlaps right now are Jamian, Pubed is on an outlap, ISRL Lewis, and Jerome. I'm going to say, why am I got myself into a Jerome moment now, but it's definitely Jerome. I don't know. It's probably that's gonna be an upsetting thing. I'm probably gonna say Jerome a lot, so you're all just gonna have to bear with me here, ladies and gentlemen. But nonetheless, it is Biz Racing who's ahead of Jerome in the in the McLaren. I'm looking at a white car here, which is the AlphaTauri. This is why it's good to have co-commentators, ladies and gentlemen, because they just fix all of the mistakes you're going to make in your commentating. But nonetheless, let's begin a lap here in Q2, and it's Biz Racing who will be the first one up. And Biz Racing had some pretty good pace in Q1. Let's see what he can do coming in the Q2. He's setting on a medium tire. So the pit stop strategy for the race, preferably, is a medium to hard strategy. That's what we saw in the first 2 races, mostly. Some may try a medium soft strategy, but most drivers are going to try to do medium to hard. The hard tire is not too bad on this track. You can get them in the pretty good operating window. So that's what most drivers will go for. Medium, soft, if possible. If they do qualify on the softs here in this session, then they might go soft, medium, but The soft tires run out pretty quickly on this track. After about 7 laps, they're going to be at 50%, so we'll see what the pit stop strategies are going to be, but I presume most of them, actually, there's Pubed on that soft tire, who has already invalidated his lap pretty quickly. Lewis is also on the soft tire, which is interesting. Jerome is on the mediums. And there's a car stopped right there. That was an AlphaTauri, and that was, I believe, Jer letting by his teammate. And let's see, coming into now the end of the lap. Not super glued to the curbs like he'd like to be. A little wide out of the final turn. Gets on the power early, though. Let's see what the time's going to be from him. And it's going to be a 129.4, so that is definitely not the pace he had in Q1. So Jerome now is going to come on to finish a lap in the McLaren, and no, he's going to go into the pit lane, actually. It's going to be Lewis then, who has a really big tank slapper out of the penultimate turn, so that was not what he would have liked to do in Sector 3. Going to come across the line, DRS activated. Let's see what he's going to do in the Ferrari right now. Fastest, but only by a 1/10 of a second, and it's in the 129s, and that's just not going to cut it. And now Pubed will begin another lap after invalidating the first one. Let's get the lap data back and the telemetry. So Fionn on a lap right now. Jer started a lap. Jedian is invalidated. Isaac Kush has gone fastest, but it's a 129.2, so some pretty slow times so far right now. Not from what we expect with the 128s we saw, so those are on the medium tires, but I didn't think they'd be that big of a drop-off, and Pubed has invalidated again. So another invalidation here in Q2 with about 10 minutes left to go in the session. There's still a lot of time, but another invalidation from the Williams driver there. He put it second in Q1, but has had some bad luck so far. And you can see Sophion there just coming out of that chicane, coming towards that flat right-hand turn. And here comes Jer. He's behind the Ferrari. Sweetcar 19 goes fastest, but it's a 129.0. And maybe those mediums aren't going to have the type of pace we thought they'd have. Here comes Jer, about to finish the lap. Just finally clips the curb right there a little bit. Clips the curb a little bit there too. Ooh, a little bit shaky with the power delivery out of the exit of the final turn. Let's see what the time's going to be from him. It's a 129.0. And look at the gap from Sweet Crown 19 and Jer. Hundredths of a second. But in the 129, so maybe the 129s are the pace on those medium tires. I thought they might go a little bit faster, but ultimately not. Not able to get into the 128, so that might be the pace we expect to see here in Q2. Or our driver's going to try to push it and go onto the softs. Maybe they don't feel that's a very confident strategy. It depends how many drivers down the order try to go on the soft tires. There's Jerome on the mediums on an outlap. Jedian is trying to set a lap. He's on the mediums as well. So a lot of medium runners. So maybe 129s will be safe, but it's whether or not you can get the best 129. As you can see, it's Sweetcrown and Jer very close to the 128s, just hundredths of a second, and that could be down just a mistake, so possibly get into the 128s. But Isaac Kush, 2/10 off. Slowest at the moment is Jamie, but just not a lot of lap times on the board. Though Jedian will be changing that soon, as he's going to come through the penultimate turn and then the final turn. A championship contender, in fact, I believe championship winner in Tier 2 in Season 2. And let's see what the time's going to be. And it's going to be a 129.9, and that is almost into the 130s. So Mr. Cool is in the other Renault. Jedian and Mr. Cool, teammates in Tier 2 last season in the McLarens, are now teammates in Tier 1, though in the Renaults this time. And let's see what Mr. Cool can put on the board. Jerome on a lap. Mr. Cool just coming through some of the final few turns here. Biz Racing has started another lap, and there's a Williams coming out of the pit lane. And I believe that would have been, yes, it is Pubed who just came out of the pit lane. As you can see there, he had to really avoid one of those cars there, who I was just not following, and I believe it was, well, Mr. Cool is about to come across the line, so let's see what the time, it was Biz Racing, sorry, starting a lap, and Mr. Cool goes third fastest, faster than Isaac Kush by about 1/10 of a second, and he puts it into the top 3 here in Q2. So the only drivers who haven't set lap times yet are drivers who could make it into the top 10, because there's only 9 times on the board right now, and Kush is out. He has retired in the pit lane. So Kush is pretty confident that he'll make it into the top 10 here in Q2 for 129.2. If you're saying that drivers, if we believe drivers are all going to try to qualify on the mediums and do a medium to hard, then he could be right about that one, but we'll have to wait and see. Pubed is about to start a lap soon. Duwill is on a lap. He's in that Haas in Sector 3. And just clipping the curb there a little bit. Looking good so far. Just hitting the apex, I believe, about for Duwill in the final turn. DRS activated, and let's see what the time's going to be from the Haas driver. 9th fastest, ahead of Jediant. So now there are 10 times on the board. And Pubed currently out of it, though, but he's going to try to put a lap together here with about 5 minutes left to go, and he's made it through the danger zones where he has invalidated a lot in this session, and that's fastest in the first sector. So can Pubed put into the 128s, which have been an elusive time in Q2? All the drivers on the medium tires coming into the chicane. Ooh, he cut a lot of that corner, and the game very gracious with him. That could have been an invalidation right there, but just cut it perfectly. And let's see what the Sector 2 will be. And it's not going to be a Sector 2 fastest, but Pube still looking to be pretty good to get into Q3. Coming through just the final few turns, Drafta is also on a lap. And here comes Pubed, riding on board of him, going through the right-hander, then the left-hander, that penultimate turn there, and then the hairpin. Let's see what the time's going to be from Pubed. Going into the top 10, I'm sure. What's the time going to be? A 129.2. And that'll put him 5th fastest, and that will surely put him into the top 10. And Drafta is not had a lap time yet, but he is going to do that soon as he's coming through the right-hander right here, coming to the penultimate turn. Very easy to run too wide, doesn't do so. Final turn, clips the curb a little bit, back on the power. Pretty nice power delivery coming out of the final turn. Q2 with about 3 minutes and 25 seconds left to go and counting, and that's 9th place for Drafta. And now in the danger zone is Jerome, as Duwill is currently sitting in 11th. So here's when the eliminations come. So Theon and Nathan both on outlaps. They do not have times on the board. And somebody's gone ahead of somebody. I don't know. There was another retirement. I think maybe Mr. Cool there has retired out of the session. And currently, Jerome in the danger zone of getting eliminated here, as long as he can keep it in that top 10 spot, but not a lot separating Duwill and Jerome. But I don't believe Jerome, well, Duwill is in the pit lane, so he might have another opportunity to get a lap in. Nathan has started a lap. Let's see what he can do in the racing point. And running really wide, not where you want to be on track going through that turn. But that's going to be fastest Sector 1 nonetheless for Nathan, so he did well enough anyway. And he's fastest currently through Sector 1. So Nathan putting in some pace that we didn't know he maybe had. And let's see now, can he put it fastest in Sector 2? And that's an invalidation, and he cut way too much of the track there. And that's an invalidation for the Racing Point driver, and that is probably going to be it for his qualifying session. Currently sitting down in 14th position, and he's not going to make it around for another lap, so Nathan is going to be out of qualifying. So Feon now is going to start a lap, and he has to get himself out of this bottom four right here in this session to possibly get himself into the top 10. He was pretty fast in Q1, but Q2 has been a different story for a few drivers here. Duwill is on an outlap with about a minute 30 left to go in the session. He should be good to have another lap on the board here. Let's see if he can do it. So Feon is fastest in Sector 1 for the Ferrari. So he's doing pretty well so far. It would be nice to have a Ferrari Q3 with both of them in Q3. Let's see if he can make it happen. And there's about a minute left to go in the session. Duwill will make it around for another lap. Biz Racing is on an outlap, trying to get around for another one. And the top two in the pit lane, they're safe to go into the next session. Biz Racing will begin his lap. Duwill will soon begin his lap as well. So Feon is coming into Sector 3 now. I didn't see what the Sector 2 time was, but he's still good. There's no invalidation yet. Let's see. Here we go. So Feon looking to put in the top 10. Coming through that penultimate turn right now in the final turn. It's looking pretty good. Puts on the power. A little unsteady. The rear does not like it. He's going to come across the line. What's the time going to be from Feon? It's going to be into a fastest. And that is a good time from him, but that puts Jerome out of and he has invalidated this time, and he is going to be out of qualifying. Duwill has put enough in for another lap. Let's see how far he can get up. Can he make it into Q3? Nathan invalidated as well. He will not get another time on the board. That was disappointing for him. So it's really Duwill right now who's got to put on the charge. Can he make it into the next session? Sweet Crown 19, JR, Mr. Cool, Isaac, Kush, Pubed, Lewis, Biz Racing, Feon, Jamian, and Drofta in elimination territory, but those are your top 10 at the moment. The Haas driver goes fastest in the second sector. So Duo on a charge right now, trying to get himself in the Q3. Can he do it for the Haas outfit? As we see that there's only one Haas driver on the grid right now who is going to be in the top 10. May it be Duo? Let's see. A little bit of a yellow flag in there as I believe somebody retired in the pit lane. Now coming around the final turn, just about hits the apex well there. Coming out of the final turn, DRS activated. Let's see what the time is going to be from the Hush driver. And it's going to be fastest at the end with a 128.2. It's on the softs though. So that's the big thing. He puts it fastest in. He's going to go in the Q3, but he's got to start on the softs. Was it worth it? I don't know about that one. It was definitely a good lap, but it's on the soft tires. I don't know if that was a worth it strategy to put himself in the Q3, because now he's going to have a really hard time keeping that lead and, in fact, scoring a good amount of points in this race. So your top 10, and Drofta is out of qualifying. Jerome out of qualifying. Jediant out, and so is Nathan. Duwill, Sweet Crown 19, Jer, Mr. Cool, Isaac, Kush, Pubed, Lewis, Biz Racing, Feon, and Jamie, and rounds off your top 10 as we head into that top 10 shootout. Duwill goes fastest, but by an easy margin with that soft tire, and I don't know if that was the right strategy call from him. I personally would have been I would have personally taken the elimination out of Q2 because he is going to have a really tough time. As they're just waiting for time to expire. Let's get ready for that top 10 shootout, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be interesting. The fight for pole. We should expect some 127s to start coming up on the board in the next session. And there is fastest in Q2, Do Will. But was it a strategy that he should have done as he goes fastest with the Williams Sweet Crown 19 in second, Jer right there in the AlphaTauri in third, Mr. Cool sitting in fourth, Isaac Kush in the top 5. Pewd made it into 6th, Lewis in 7th, Biz Racing 8th fastest. 9th fastest was Sophion, and in the top 10 goes Jamian. It's dropped to Jerome Jediant, a little disappointing for him, out in Q2, and Nathan sets no time. So a very bad session for him, just not able to connect the car onto the track and the places he'd like it to go. And let's get ready, set for action here, though. Q3, about to begin the top 10 shootout. The times are going to be blistering, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get set for action. Thank you for joining us. If you are joining us, my name is IGKX. I'm your only commentator for today. Blend Machine not able to make it into the commentary booth, but I will try to navigate you through this race and through Q3, which is 12 minutes of non-stop qualifying action to get pole position and to order the last drivers, which are the top 10. This is round number 2 of the championship for the Tier 1 championship. Sweet Crown 19 defending his title and doing it well with a win in Austria, looking to get another win on the board here as drivers all going out now. It's going to get busy here. Sweet Crown 19 was the first person out. He wants to get a good lap time in right away. Just some calls for pole position here. Carter with a bold prediction. He thinks Mr. Cool might get it. Astunik believing that Jer will be on pole position. Let's see what happens. There is Sweet Crown 19. He's on the soft compound tire. Coming through the chicane. It's crunch time. And it's hammer time for drivers. As let's see who goes fastest. And already we'll have about 10 minutes left to go in the session as the first lap is about to begin. There's a nice shot of that wide turn coming in the Sector 3. The only driver in the pit lane right now is both of the Ferraris, Sophion and Lewis. They are waiting for the track, maybe for a lot of the drivers to start their laps so they can get on. And here we go. Sweet Crown 19 comes around the final turn. The DRS flap opens, increasing the straight line speed. And here we go. Starting a lap. Sweet Crown 19 coming into turn 1 and just using the perfect amount there. A little lock up into the turn, though, and nice through turn number 2. And coming into the chicane here. A little unstable on the curb there, but looking good nonetheless. Clipping the curb nicely. Now coming onto the straight. Here we begin now, about to get out of the first sector. Getting back up all the details that you want. DRS open into 8th gear. And just getting it into about 205 miles per hour, 206 miles per hour at a certain point there. And braking, coming into the chicane now. Sweet Crown 19 on the charge. Coming into Sector 2 now. Finishing Sector 2. Of course, fastest. But is it going to be fastest throughout the session as he is about to finish his lap in Sector 3 now through this long, long right turn. You go wide, then you go back in. Easy to get early on the power now on this version of the game. Sweet Crown 19 looking to get on pole position here. It was Jay Fletcher who got the first pole position of the year in Austria. He's not on track today, though, so Sweet Crown 19 might have a better chance here as DRS opens. Let's see what the time's going to be. And it's going to be into the 127s, and it's a 127.7. And let's get set action, ladies and gentlemen, because the times are going to fly here. Pubed invalidates another lap, so he has just not been able to find the right track limits. As here comes Mr. Cool. Jared goes fastest for 127.6. Here comes Mr. Cool, about to set a lap, and it's going to be a 128 flat. That's going to be third fastest for him. Mr. Cool almost getting into there, and then Do Will with a 128.9, way off the pace that he had in that last Q2 lap. Isaac Kush goes third fastest, a 127.8, a tenth slower than Sweet Crown 19. Biz Racing about to finish a lap soon, and Jamian also in the third sector. And no, into the pit lane. Biz Racing had an invalidation. So let's see what Jamian does here. Coming into the penultimate turn and then the final turn. And Carter takes back the bold prediction. Let's see, coming across the line, here comes Jamian with a pretty abysmal 145.4. And that is what you would see maybe in an intermediate condition. So Jamian right now not on pace, as he will slow down the car and go for another lap soon. But he has a red light flashing there for fuel, so might have to go into the pit lane rather soon anyway. And Sophion on an out lap. Lewis on a hot lap. And is it going to be hot enough for pole position as he comes into that flat right turn? And then another sweeping right turn, going wide, but almost going off track there. Gets on the power early. That's going to cost him a few tenths of a second. As into Sector 3 we go here for Lewis, looking to put that Ferrari far up the grid. Can he do it with this such packed grid? All the top 5 drivers in the pit lane right now, but Duwell might be getting knocked out of there shortly as he's got almost a 129 on the board. A little bit of a lockup in the final turn there. Here comes Lewis, though, coming across the line. What's the time going to be from the Ferrari driver? And it's going to be a 128.7. Puts himself in the top 5. Duwell down to 6th. Jamian down to 7th. On an out lap right now is Pubed. He has had troubles in qualifying. Has been invalidating all over the place. He's got to get a good lap time on the board, because if he can do it, he's going to be right up there in that top 5 spot. As Biz Racing in the pit lane. Sophion now, the other Ferrari, looking to get a good time on the board in Sector 3 right now. Let's see what Sophion can do. And he spins the car, spinning it in Sector 3. And that was terrible for Sophion, and he is going to have a pretty bad time right now on the board. That's going to put him way down the order. But Sophion spinning it, putting way too much power out of the exit, and he's just going to put it in the pit lane right now. And here comes Pubed, going for another lap. Can he make it a valid one? Coming in the turn number 1. Not going to want to use too much of the exits here. Going to try to keep it as nice as possible. Out of exit of turn 2, looking pretty good there. Into this next turn, and that's another invalidation. You could see it coming the moment he turned in. Pube just using too much of the track, and that's another invalidation. And the Co-Williams driver, the Sweet Crown 19, just not able to keep it within the limits. You know, if he gets the time on the board, it's going to be in the top 5, maybe in the top 3. But Pubed, in his first race in Season 3, is having trouble with track limits here. He's got a lot of fuel on board, so it looks like he may go for another one. But only about 4 minutes and 30 seconds left to go in the session. Sweet Crown about to start another lap. Jer is on pole position. But will it be Sweet Crown 19 at the end of this one? Isaac Kush on an out lap. So is Mr. Cool a little bit further up the lap. And here comes Sweet Crown 19. Coming into that chicane in Sector 1. Slingshotting it through there. Looking very good right now. And that's a fastest first sector for Sweet Crown 19. Looking to get on pole position here in France. Coming into Sector 2 now, down that DRS straight, hitting 206 miles per hour before breaking into the chicane. Coming through the chicane now, putting the power on early, getting back onto the next straight. Going to be pitting after this next hot lap, and it's going to be faster in the second sector, but it's not fastest in the second sector, crucially. Sweet Crown 19 trying to put on pole position here, coming through that sweeping right-hand turn and back on the power early, coming in the sector 3 now. And let's see what he can do in the Williams car. Cool, just on the exit out there, almost too wide. That could have been invalidation. 3 minutes left to go in the session. Clips that curve just a little bit there into the final turn. A little bit of a lockup, but nothing too bad. Nice power delivery out of the final turn. Here comes Sweet Crown 19. What's the time going to be? And it's going to be pole position. And it's a 127.5. And Sweet Crown 19 is going to be a 10th clear of Jer and puts it on pole position, provisionally pole position at the moment. We still have a few drivers who need to set some lap times. Kush is not going to do it though on this lap. He's invalidated and he's got a red light flashing for fuel. Mr. Cool on a lap right now. Right on the edge of invalidation right there. And let's see, coming through that final turn, Mr. Cool putting on the power. Let's see what the time's going to be from the Renault driver sitting in 4th position, coming across the line. And it's a 127.8. That's going to be 4th fastest and down by 0.2 of a second from the previous lap. And here is Lewis now in the top 5, trying to get a move on here, trying to put in another lap. Pubed on an out lap right now with about 2 minutes left to go in the session. This is going to be his last chance to put a time on the board. If he can do it, it's going to be blistering. We'll make sure to check back with him in a moment. Sophion also in the first sector. He'll get enough time to put in another lap. A bunch of drivers on out laps right now. Biz Racing, oh, he might be in trouble though. With about 1:40, he should just about make it. We'll have to wait and see. And there's Sweet Crown 19, provisional pole position. He is going to be done with this session, and hopefully it's enough for him, he believes, to make it on pole position here in this race. But Jer on an outlap, does he have enough time to get around? I don't know if he does. Jer might have really undervalued the amount of time he had left in the session. I don't think that Jer can get around for another lap. The challenge for pole position, if he does, it's going to be very, very tight. Mr. Cool just off track, letting by drivers, making sure not to run into anybody. Lewis going for another lap here as he barrels it into turn number 1. Oh, that's an invalidation, and Lewis in the top 5, not able to get that Ferrari any further up the grid. That's an invalidation into turn 1. And here comes Pubed, Williams driver. Teammate to Sweet Crown 19, but he doesn't need you to know that. He just needs to know that he's fast, and he's going to put in a good time, and that's fastest in the Sector 1. And it's the Williams driver of Pubed who's on a charge right now. He's got a car ahead of him a little bit further up the grid, though, so I don't think any slipstream's going to come into effect. But it is that Ferrari of Lewis, and Lewis is going to possibly try to get out of the way at some point here, but this might help Pubed. If he can get some slipstream coming up to this next straight, and I think he will get a little bit of slipstream, and yes, that Ferrari is going to give him just a little bit of that straight line advantage, and it's fastest in the second sector for the Williams driver. Pubed on a charge right now looking for pole position. It's been disaster pretty much through most of the qualifyings, but he's got it into every sector now, and now through the final sector. He's got that Ferrari ahead of him, hopefully no dirty air. Just should be a little bit of slipstream momentum as he's about to come into the penultimate turn now. Coming into the final turn, what will the time be for Pubed? Around the final turn here in Paul Ricard. He gets a nice exit, putting on the power. DRS activated. What's the time going to be for the Williams teammate? And it's only 4th fastest. He was fastest in the first 2 sectors, but a slow sector 3. It's going to be into the top 5, but I'm sure he was looking for more. Jer was able to get another lap time on the board here, but he's got a McLaren ahead of him, and the McLaren gets out of the way. Here comes Jer trying to challenge for pole position again. Coming into this right-hand turn, going wide, then coming back in early on the power. He's got that new soft compound tire on. Let's see what Jared does here in the Sector 3. Is he going to put it on pole position ahead of Sweet Crown 19, who's got a 127.5 on the board there? Biz Racing is going to have another lap, and he's going to go 6th fastest on the grid. And here we go, through the final turn. Jer, I don't think this is going to be it. He's going to come across the line soon. What's the time going to be? It's a 127.7. It's slower, and it's Sweet Crown 19 who puts it on pole position, unless Isaac Kush, who's going to get another lap. Isaac Kush has enough time to get around for another one, so hold your horses here, folks. It's not Jared's going to challenge for pole position, but could it be Kush? He had a little bit of a moment out there, though, and oh no, I think as he slowed up the car, he has, and Kush has aborted this lap, but Sweet Crown 19 puts it on pole position here in France, and that was an amazing Q3. And there's your top 10. Sweet Crown 19 on pole, Jer in second, third for Kush, Pubed in fourth, Mr. Cool in fifth, Biz Racing in sixth, Do Will in seventh, eighth for ISRL Lewis, ninth for Jamian, and 10th for Sophion. Both Ferraris a little bit further down than he'd like to be. Jamian a little bit further down than he'd like to be. The usual top 5 that we expected. Do Will sitting in 7th. And let's get set for action here, ladies and gentlemen. 50% race around France. Looks to be dry. And I expect a thriller here at Paul Ricard. And we have a few other drivers who are going to get into the race here. It looks like IRC Toby is going to get into the race. Light F1 will get a chance to redeem himself a little bit here. And let's get set for action here, ladies and gentlemen. We'll have the formation lap. And then the 5 red lights. And they'll go off. And we'll get ready for the start of the French Grand Prix. My name is IJKX. You're watching ISRL Esports. It's round number 2 of the ISRL Tier 1 Championship in Formula 1. Session start in 5 seconds. Let's get set, ladies and gentlemen. And there's that one red light. And they're off. Formation lap underway, and it's Sweet Crown 19 on pole position. Jer in second position, followed by Isaac Kush. Pubed, his teammate for Sweet Crown 19, in fourth. Mr. Cool in fifth, Biz Racing in sixth, Do Will in seventh position. ISRL Lewis sitting in eighth, Jamian in ninth, Sophion rounding off the top 10. Jerome in 11th, followed by Jedian in 12th, and Nathan in 13th. His teammate Dropta in 14th. ISRL Carter number 15 on the grid. ISRL Knight and Gurman, the 2 Red Bulls, with a very disappointing Q number 1, and they're going to be 16th and 17th on the grid. Light F1, 18th on the grid. Infamous Pillars in 19th and 20th for Toby. There's your predicted pit stop strategy. Medium should be pitting around lap 11 to 14, and then going on to the hards. For drivers like Do Will, though, it's soft tires for the start, and they will go on to the mediums and probably another set of mediums at the end. But it's going to be a tough first stint. Going to be pitting quite early in this race. And we are just about getting set. The formation lap is underway right now. It's a 20 grid. 20 drivers on the grid. Over 20,000 horsepower combined, plus a little extra from the ERS. And that's a pretty packed grid of extremely fast drivers. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. 27 laps around Paul Ricard. The tracks in real life, this race in real life doesn't bring too much action, but I've seen some amazing battles. And there you go. So it's medium, soft, medium it's giving me for if you start on the mediums, possibly go on the softs for a short bit and the mediums again. But we're expecting soft, medium, medium for drivers like Do Will. And there's Sweet Crown 19 trying to slow up his car a little bit. He does not want to be sitting on the grid too long. Coming around that final turn. France is the birthplace of motorsport. And Paul Ricard is the return for the French Grand Prix here in Formula 1, making its making its modern debut in 2018. And it's making its debut on the ISRL calendar in Season 3. Let's get set, ladies and gentlemen. All the drivers line up on the grid, and we're getting ready for the 5 red lights. Sitting on for the grid in just a moment. And it's going to be ready. And it's 1 light, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. And the lights are out, and away we go. And Sweet Crown 19 of some wheel spin off the start, and it's going to be Jerry who's going to try to get alongside him and coming in the turn around on the outside. He's going to try to hang it on the outside, but ultimately it's Sweet Crown 19 who keeps it in first position. Biz Racing in second, but off the track, and it's major carnage down the order as Biz Racing stays in third. Jamian up to fourth with an incredible start, and Carter up to fifth position. What an amazing start for the Mercedes driver. He's really up the order right now, and it's gonna be night. Sorry, I think there's a little bit of a problem there. Actually, sorry, no, it's updating my lineup right now, as there's always been an issue for some reason, but it's Sweet Crown 19 and Jer in second position, Kush in third, Mr. Cool in fourth, Duwill in fifth, and it's actually been Biz Racing down in ninth position. Pubed has had a bad start though, sitting down in eighth, and Lewis already has a 3-second time penalty, and here comes Pubed on the back of Sophion trying to make a move, but ultimately Sophion gets the better traction out of the turn. We already got blue flags waving, and riding on board of Duwill right now behind Mr. Cool, looking for possibly a move coming into the turn though, a little bit too far back. Looking for an outside move. Mr. Cool covers it well, though. Sorry about that. There's a bit of a move here. Carter, and look at this. Look at the McLaren of Jerome trying to put it around out Carter now, and Carter loses the position. Jerome with a nice move around the outside. And here we go. And oh, there's a hit between Infamous and Carter. And Carter's off track. And he is going to be way down the order. And I believe Jedian will pass him now. And Carter in last. And he's just going to make a pit stop. Sweet Crown 19 goes fastest. Jer in second. And Isaac Cush in third. Mr. Cole in fourth. Duwill in fifth position. Lewis and Sophion in sixth and seventh. So a good start for the Ferraris. But now it's Sophion who's got a contend of Pube, who's right on the back of him. Covering him off well. Pubed looking to make up some positions after a poor start, sitting down at 8th right now on the grid. So it was a big jostling of positions in the first lap, as we'd expected. The track very, very tight in the first sector through some of these turns. And look at this big slipstream now. Sophion moving out of the way. Pube should make the move pretty easily coming into the chicane. And he's going to make the move around the outside. And Pubed up in the 7th position, now going to try to chase down Lewis. Riding on board of Duwill, trying to catch up to Mr. Cool, who's sitting in 4th position. Isaac Cush a little bit further behind from Jer, and Jer 1.2 seconds the gap between the leader and Jer. And there's some moves down the order here as Light F1 and Jerome are battling right now. And there's that pit stop strategy again coming up. Soft, medium, medium is now predicted for everybody, as there's only one driver on the softs, and it's Duwill. And there's a big crash here for Biz Racing. He's had a crash of somebody, and it's a safety car deployed. So he's not out of the race, but that front wing is gone, and an early lap number 2 safety car. And drivers will be making pit stops. We see a few up here, and Duwill's made his pit stop, and this is great for him. And pit lane going to be very busy right now, but this is played very well in the Duwill's hands, who had to stop early anyway. And he's going to get a free pit stop, essentially, and will come out much better in this race than he would have expected to. Up the order, Sweet Crown 19 still leads. Jer in second, Cush in third, Mr. Cool in fourth, Pube now up to 5th. So he's back where he qualified in. Jamian sitting in 8th. IRC Toby is up to 9th, and Light F1 in 10th. So a great start for the Alfa Romeo Orland cars. 9th and 10th right now. 11th for Gurman, Duo down in 12th. Lewis down in 13th. This has been a terrible start for him. Drofta in 14th. Knight, pretty good start. Up to 15th, the last scoring point position. Jerome in 16th. The Giant in 17th. Carter now down in 19th. Pillars has pitted. But Carter must be livid right now with that contact of infamous pillars down in Sector 3. And it was right around when the safety car came out. So we're under safety car conditions here, ladies and gentlemen, as it's Sweetcrown 19 who leads this French Grand Prix. And there was some contact between a few drivers. Ultimately, though, it was Biz Racing with a front wing gone off the car. And he has put a new one on. So, drama already from some contact, and I'm sure will be investigated after the race. But lap number 3, safety car conditions. If you're just joining us mid-race, my name is IJKX. I'm your main commentator this evening. You're watching ISRL Esports. It's the Tier 1 Championship, round number 2. It's the French Grand Prix at the Circuit de Paul Ricard. I'm your only commentator this evening. Blend Machine, my co-commentator, not able to make it into the booth today. Hoping to see him next week. But I will try to call as much of the action as the safety car going rather slow down the start-finish line. Sweetcrown 19 trying to warm up his tires as much as he can. And a Carter going in the pit lane, speeding in the pit lane now. More and more issues, and infamous pillars also into the pit lane. So Carter should get out ahead of infamous pillars. And there he goes, makes his pit stop. Carter will move up to 19th again. But Carter got a speeding in the pit lane penalty of 5 seconds added to the rest of his race time. And in fact, to be fair, that's not served on the pit stop where you get that penalty from. So he's going to have to make another one if he wants to get rid of that. And, ooh, the safety car. If we could hear Sweetcrown 19's radio comms, I'm sure he'd be yelling at the safety car to go a little bit faster. And, ooh, was that... I heard a little bit of a lockup notion right there. That might have been Jer behind him, trying to avoid the rear diffuser of the Williams. And he does not want to pick up a 5-second penalty for himself as well. Some drivers really hate the track limits around here, and you might see a few penalties picked up by some drivers, but in my case at least, I don't mind the I don't necessarily mind the track limits around here too much. And there's another lockup from Sweetcrown 19. I think Sweetcrown just trying to warm up the brakes a little bit, get some heat into them. Not a lot of laps to go, and safety car in this lap, not a lot of laps from the first part of the race, so brakes still might be a little cold. So, pit limiter, sort of a safety car limiter. But Sweetcrown 19 now will control the pack, and we will get ready for the restart. So it's a lap 2 safety car, and we're about to begin lap 5 of this Grand Prix. Very quick in and out. Sweetcrown 19 slowing him up. Going to be getting underway soon, though. We'll see when he decides to get the jump on him. Still going pretty slowly. Still waiting for him to go, and he's going to go now. And here we go. Safety car restart underway. Sweetcrown 19 leading the French Grand Prix ahead of Jer Isaac Kush, sitting in 3rd position. Mr. Cool did not get the best jump, and Pube is going to be right on the back of him on the restart. Into the pits are a few drivers here, and it's Lewis into the pits early in this restart, and Sweetcrown 19 has gotten a very good getaway on this safety car restart ahead of Jer. And it's Mr. Cool who was caught napping. 3-second time penalty for Knight with a corner cut. And now Pube looking to get into 4th. Isaac Kush has a little bit of a moment. You saw the back end step out from there. Very easy to make it step out of the exit of that corner. And now Mr. Cool gaining a little bit more time. Kush actually not getting a good restart either. About a second already back from Jer. Currently sitting in 3rd. Mr. Cool will be looking to attack soon. And there's a move down the order. It's Duwill on Gurman, and just about gets ahead of the Red Bull driver before the chicane. Going to ride on board of Jer here. He's getting quite close to Sweetcrown 19. So Sweetcrown got a good jump on Jer, but ultimately Jer able to catch up a little bit more. Both on these medium tires. They have not made pit stops yet, and I'm sure these stints will be extended a little bit by that safety car And Sweet Crown 19 goes really wide there, and that's going to allow Jer to catch up to him. And let's see if he can try to make a move pretty soon. Mr. Cool getting very close to Isaac Kush. Isaac Kush now 1.1 seconds behind. And look at this, Jamian has lost some positions here, now battling with that Alfa Romeo of Light, trying to keep it on the inside, not able to do it now. Here comes Duil, and he's got some slipstream. He's got that ERS activated. Jamian, he's not able to beat him in the straight line, but is he going to make a dive around the outside? I believe he's going to try to on the outside, and makes the move on the Mercedes driver. What a fantastic dive out the outside and into 10th position. A fantastic move from the Haas driver, and he puts himself into the top 10. Jamian now down to 11th, and he's got Gurman on his tail, but Gurman's got to contend with the racing point of Drafta, who is new to the grid here right now in this second round of the championship. Now dropping back a little bit from Gurman, trying to catch some slipstream of the Red Bull. As you see, he's copying the line of the Red Bull driver. Here comes Gurman, a little bit too far back from Jamian. Drafta definitely with the advantage right now on the Red Bull driver, catching up almost to him here, and a bad exit for Gurman. I don't know if he got the traction he would have liked to, but Drafta not able to get enough traction. But now coming into this right-hand turn, he's going to get very close, possibly trying to make a move. Where is he going to go? Is he going to try to go on the inside? A little bit too far back. Ultimately, Gurman covering one. Oh, Gurman really lost it there, and he's going to try to put on the inside. So Gurman having troubles. And now look at this. There's a more battle up the field as Light tips into the track there, into the pavement. And now Duil trying to get involved here in 10th position. Nathan going really wide out of the turn there, and this is some major battling going on right now in the mid-pack. As I say that, Sweet Crown 19 puts in the fastest lap with Jer behind him. DRS is now enabled. Sweet Crown 19 in attack window for Jer. He has done well to keep it within that half a second territory, which is about where you want it now. If he can have some good couple corners right here, don't overcook it. Now with another 3-second time penalty, that's 6 seconds already in the first part of this race. Light F1 moving down some positions. We'll have to wait and see what happened there. And here we go. DRS is going to be activated, and it's going to have possibly some ERS. I don't know if he's going to activate it. There comes the DRS. Sweet Crown 19 able to keep the lead, though. Drafta is dropping down positions like flies, and in fact, it's because he has little, though, oh, no, I think he just ghosted. Has he disconnected from the session? He must have. That must be the problem. Not too sure why he's lost all this pace, but yeah, he is ghosted, and he is dropping down the order. So Light, I believe, is out of this session at the moment. We'll see if he can get back in. Here comes Mr. Cool trying to catch Kush and get himself into the top 3 here. Jer doing well to keep close to Sweet Crown 19 as we're going to come up to the next DRS straight. So this is crucial for Jer. He's going to have DRS on the start, and then on that next DRS straight, that's when the moves can possibly be made. He's going to come around the final turn there, get on the power nicely. Sweet Crown 19 out a little bit of a moment on the power there, and you can see DRS activated. And he's not going to have ERS activated, though he's going to save it a little bit. It's very hard to get the energy back up, but Sweet Crown 19 is getting caught up, and Jer going to keep it back for the moment now. But it's getting very, very dicey with the top 2 here. Jer getting very close to possibly make a move. He's going to get within 0.3 of a second. And here comes Mr. Cool with a move on Kush. And he puts it into the 3rd position. Sweet Crown 19, Carter, with a 3-second time penalty. Sweet Crown 19 is going to be under pressure, though. And here comes Jer. He's going to have DRS. And can he defend well? Sweet Crown 19 might be a sitting duck here. Is he going to put it in ERS? Let's see, he's putting in the mixes. Is he going to make a move? No, a little bit too far back. Kush makes the move again with the DRS. Drafta is having to make a contention with Gurman. And then Duil makes a move on Nathan, puts himself in the 8th. Some jostling of positions down the order, but we got to keep attention here as these top 2 drivers, Jer and Sweet Crown 19, in a bit of a battle right now. Sweet Crown 19's tires not working as well for him as it are for Jer. Gotta keep in mind, though, Jer's tires will run out quicker. Being behind Sweet Crown 19, the dirty air is going to ruin the tire life for his mediums. And Sweet Crown running a little wide, but both taking relatively the same line into the penultimate turn. Now the final turn. And ERS out of the exit. DRS activated and trying to catch up to Sweet Crown 19, getting close to him in the turn 1, but ultimately a little bit too far back to make a move, and he will possibly settle for the next DRS straight. Early in this race, you don't be making any unnecessary moves, but if he has an opportunity, he'll make it. Jamie has to battle with Nathan and gets ahead of him. And Gurman, and look at this, dropped us down the order, and maybe has he disconnected? I'm not too sure. Pube getting very close to Mr. Cool here. He might make a move on the next straight. Here we go there. Jer is very close on this DRS straight. Can he make a move coming up into the turn? He's going to get close, but again, I think a little bit too far back. No, he might make a move on the inside. Thinks about it, but ultimately doesn't make that happen. Pube dropped back for Mr. Cool, but he might have had a moment in one of the turns, but not able to make a move. Coming into the turn. Dropping down the order. Light and Drop to both, I think, have disconnected. And Pillars has a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. And look at this. Jer is so very, very close to Sweet Crown 19. And he's looking to make a move very soon. Lap number 9 of 27. Those medium tires going to last a little bit longer into this race because of the because of the safety car. So they're able to make these things last a little bit longer. But now throughout 0.3 of a second, about to come onto the next lap. Lap number 10, a lockup from Sweet Crown, no lockup from Jer. Here we go, out of the exit with some ERS. DRS activated, that's a virtual safety car. And I don't know necessarily why this is happening. It might be because of Biz Racing, who's out of the race. As he crashed, he has crashed, and he's on the side of the track. And that's what caused the virtual safety car, Biz Racing, out of the session. Now, this is playing in the Sweet Crown 19's hands because I think because of the Delta, Chair has had to drop back quite a little bit here, and he wants to make sure to get a good restart for him because if Sweet Crown 19 gets a good one outside of a second, this could play right into Sweet Crown 19's hands for this race. He's going to try to speed up. He wants to get close to him for the restart here. I can't see the Delta for him, though, so I don't know if he's going to be a negative. And now back on green flag racing. And Jer has managed this very, very well. And Nathan has a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. He's in 10th position. He's going to go way down the order. And there's a battle right now between the Alfa Romeo and the Ferrari right there. IRC Toby went on the inside of Sophion and got the move up into 6th position. So a great move, and there's a yellow flag. Jerome has had a crash. He's had a contact of somebody, maybe one of the Red Bull drivers. I'm not too sure. We'll have to wait and see. But I'm going to go back up to the top here as Jer is still very much in the fight for the lead of this race. Sweet Crown 19. And look at this. When are they going to make pit stops? Still not now. It's lap number 10, a little bit too early. Lap number 11 was where we predicted it would be, but with the safety car, I'm expecting lap 14, 15, they might make it a pit stop with those medium tires. DRS activated once again, though. Here we go, and pit stop strategy is now open for the hard strategy, which is what most of the drivers are going to be going for in this race. And look at this, Jer with some major momentum, though, trying to close up the Sweet Crown 19. Can he make a move soon? Very close to that Williams driver. The battle for the lead right now as it's getting very close, and Jedian and Knight are having a side-by-side battle, and now Infamous Pillars might try to get involved. I'm going to ride on board of Jedian, though. He's going to go side-by-side with the Red Bull of Knight, and they're going to go side-by-side into the chicane, and Knight with the inside. Look at the wheel-to-wheel action right here with Jedian gaining the advantage, and now it's going to be Infamous Pillars. He might try to make it on the inside. That's a little bit off track, buddy. You don't want to be doing it right there. You might get in trouble. And Jer has taken the lead of the Grand Prix ahead of Sweet Crown 19. They're side by side. Are they going to go side by side into the right-hand turn? This is going to be insane. And on the inside just makes it Sweet Crown 19 back into the lead of the Grand Prix. But Jer is right on the back of him. And this is the battle for the lead that we've been waiting for between these two amazing drivers. Izad Kush a little bit further back, about 0.4 of a second separating them now with Sweet Crown 19 gets back ahead of Jer. So a nice little battle right there, side by side of the Giant and Knight. And as we missed it, it was Jer who got the lead of the race for a moment there. And Knight made an inside move on that flat right-hander and got the move done. And Pubed is into the pits along with Sophion. And now we're starting to see the medium tires go off and onto the hards till the end of the race. And now Jer catching up again the Sweet Crown 19. We're going to keep on board of these two right here as they are having a titanic battle right now for the first position in this Grand Prix. It's Jer and Sweet Crown 19. A little bit further back is Kush and Mr. Cool having a little bit of a battle of their own with the DRS for themselves. Kush, outside of DRS range, is having trouble right now trying to keep up with these top two. Here comes Jer. He's back in DRS range. He's getting very close to Sweet Crown 19. He's going to go to the inside. Can he make the move on the inside? He's going to dive on the inside, giving as little room to Sweet Crown 19 as possible, and makes the move again and takes the lead of the Grand Prix. Can Sweet Crown 19 catch up again? And now it's Jer who has that advantage of the clean air, and it's Sweet Crown 19 who slots behind him. But a very good run for Sweet Crown 19 coming into this right turn. And he's going to try to catch up to Jer again. About lap 12 right now. I'm expecting 14 or 15 we'll see these top two pit. But are they going to react to the drivers who pitted behind them? We'll have to wait and see. And... oh, wait. Yes, it's Jer who makes Jer into the pits. So Jer reacts. So does Mr. Cool. Sweet Crown 19 will stay out. And Kush will take second position in this race. And he's got DRS now on Sweet Crown 19. So it's Kush and Sweet Crown who will have to react now. Does the pit stops play in the hand? Can Sweet Crown 19, if he pits, so does Kush, keep the lead of the Grand Prix as Jer and Giant go into the pit lane? So I'm presuming that on this lap, Sweet Crown 19 should react and pit. Kush sitting in second position. IRC Toby with that red line, though that is a little bit of a graphical glitch and it's auditory glitch. He is not actually redlining the car. Do-Will sitting in fourth. Gurman in fifth. The Giant a little bit further behind. And look at this. There's a bit of a battle going on right now with... the Infamous Pillars and Knight is having problems here, and Infamous Pillars is going side by side of him, and they both have their ERS, but there's an advantage for the Haas Ferrari-powered car, and into 7th position goes Infamous Pillars, and Knight drops down to 8th. He's going to try to re-challenge again, maybe get a better traction moment, maybe make a move into this right-hand turn. A little bit too far back, though, I think, and now Knight will just have to settle for 8th at the moment. Further up the pack, Sweet Crown 19 coming up close to that pit lane. Does he make the pit lane? Yes, he does. So does Kush. So here we go. Has Sweet Crown 19 done this well? Will he keep the lead of the race? Gonna ride on board with Jer. They're in Sector 3 right now. Jer behind ISRL Knight, who still has to make a pit stop, I believe, as well. IRC Toby will take the lead of the Grand Prix. And Knight does not make the pit stop. Here comes Jer. Coming around the final turn, Sweet Crown 19, where is he? He just gets out of his pit stop, and now he's going to reactivate it here. Where is Jer going to come? They're going to come out of the exit here, and I think, yes, Jer has gone ahead of Sweet Crown 19 after the pit stops, and the undercut has worked for Jer because Sweet Crown 19 is behind Jer, and Jer now behind Knight. He's just got to clear some traffic as a few of these drivers yet to make pit stops in this race. Knight on some older hard tires. I think he is doing a long strategy. I believe he started on that hard tire. If we bring up the details here, and Knight is having problems with his own. As you can see there, Knight's got some old hard tires on him, and here we go side by side, but there goes Jer up into 6th position. Knight will not try to battle that one, as this is not his horse in the race. And now he has to contend with Infamous Pillars further up the grid. I'm going to take the detail right there off. And you can see up the positions. IRC Toby and Pube gets a 3-second time penalty. So IRC Toby's made up 19 positions in this race. Absolutely insane stuff there. And Gurman sitting in 3rd. He has to make a pit stop too, mind you. But he's on that hard tire, so they're going to go pretty long into this race. The Giant, though, is trying to catch up to Gurman. They've been having a little bit of a battle throughout this race. And Jer trying to catch up the Pillars. But the hard tire, not much of a racing tire, more of a prolonging tire. And look at this, ISRL Knight is kind of holding up Sweet Crown 19 in his battle for the lead. Finally overtakes Knight and will put himself into 7th. And now he's got Jer to contend with 1.7 seconds back from his championship contender. And it's Gurman in 4th position, trying to get ahead of Jedian, and that might be a warning right there as he cut a pretty good majority of the track. Duwil back from IRC Toby by about 6 seconds. 6 seconds separating between Giant and Duwil. Gurman much closer though. And now it's Kush behind Knight. With some DRS, should make the move pretty easily. Knight just gets out of the way. Again, he knows this is not his battle, and now will slot behind quickly to cover Mr. Cool. And now look at this. Isaac Kush with a spin in the chicane, and he goes down to 11th. And now it's going to be Dropta who should get ahead of him. No, Kush gets it back up to speed. I think Dropta kind of reacted in a way that he probably shouldn't have, because he might have been able to get 11th away from Kush, but Kush had a moment, and now down to 11th, and that's going to ruin his race a little bit. Pubed is in 10th position behind Knight, so we're going to see how they do along in the battle right now. Infamous Pillars getting close to the back of Gurman as well, so that might be a battle to watch. And here comes Gurman into the pit lane. The Giant does not follow, and neither does a few drivers ahead, so Gurman into the pits with that hard tire on lap number 16. IRC Toby still in the lead of this race, though. On that hard tire, he is making him last, to say the least. Jer and Sweet Crown 19 separated by about 1.6 seconds, and now Jer has to get ahead of Infamous Pillars in the Haas. And it's a 3-second time penalty again for Knight. So that's about 9 seconds of penalties in this race, and he is having a brutal one so far in that regard. Coming into the DRS zone, should get ahead of Infamous Pillars pretty easily. I don't think Pillars is going to battle too much with this. He's going to give him the outside lane, and he's going to have to battle a little bit more than I think he'd like to. But he's going to make the move, and oh, that's a spin, and Infamous Pillars is spun around, making contact with Jer. Sweet Crown 19 moves up to 5th, but Jer and Pillars made contact. I think Jer may be a little bit impatient, wanted to get ahead of him there. It's going to be a tough move nonetheless, but Infamous Pillars now down to 10th, goes behind Knight. So some contact between those two. We'll have to wait and see what happened after that one, as I was riding on board of Jer, but I just think a racing incident right there. The two of them touch, and Infamous Pillars off track right there because of that contact. But nonetheless, Jer up to 4th, provisionally in the lead of the race. Sweet Crown 19, 1.2 seconds back, and now IRC Toby makes his pit stop, and now Duwil, for his first ever time, is going to lead a Grand Prix. He's on the medium tires. Now, are those look to be, yeah, those are pretty old mediums, so he has just not made a pit stop. He's extending his tires quite long into this race. And Jer here comes up behind Jediant, and Jediant will, I would think, not battle too much of this, as I know he knows this is not his particular race. And Jer should make the move on the DRS straight, and then Jer will have a lot of clean air ahead of him. Duwil will eventually make his pit stop rather soon, and Jer makes the pass on Jediant into 2nd position. Now Sweet Crown 19 has to clear the Renault driver. So the Renault drivers are going to run 4th and 5th in this race, so pretty good positions for the Renault outfit in this race right now, the highest up in the order for 2 teammates. Sweet Crown 19 sitting up in 4th, going to be 3rd soon. Pubed is trying to chase down those Renaults of his own and see if he can get into this battle for the top 5. Sweet Crown 19 still trailing Jedian, as we're about to get into the final 10 laps of this race, just about. And it's Jer who provisionally leads this race. Duwil into the pits finally, and there goes Jer passing the ghosted car of, I believe that is Light. And Jer takes the lead of the Grand Prix finally, for real. Jediant in 2nd. Sweet Crown 19 now trying to clear Jediant. Now, will he make a move here, or is he just going to wait for the DRS straight? I think he's going to wait, and he looked a little bit on the outside there, but that really was never going to be a move. And He should make it easily here, but can he make it on the inside there? No, he is just going to wait for that DRS straight. Going to be a pretty easy move, and then it is crunch time. Can Sweet Car 19 win this race? Drofta sets the fastest lap of the race. And there's your top two then, Jer and Sweet Car 19. Believe both do not have penalties. So it's going to be a battle for pure will here. And look at this. Isaac Kush is battling right now with Pubed. So we'll keep on board with them for a moment here. Let's see. And look at this now. Kush now just getting ahead of Light, that ghosted car right there. And Pube getting close to him as well. Now just finally ghosting through him. So Pube sitting in 6th. 1 place down from where he qualified. Looking to get ahead of the McLaren of Isaac Kush. This could be a pretty good battle. Two very talented drivers in Tier 1. The Renaults of Jedian and Mr. Cool in 3rd and 4th. So they're running really well, though I do believe, as you can see, the tires are not looking good on Jedian's car. So he's going to have to make a pit stop rather soon. That will put Pube into the top 5. And Sweet Car 19 is catching up to Jer. It's within a second now. So this battle about to resume underway soon for the lead of the race. Sweet Car 19 and Jer. Thank you for watching us. This is ISRL Esports. It's the Tier 1 Championship race. And Jer is leading the Grand Prix. Sweet Car 19 in 2nd. Jedian sitting in 3rd. Mr. Cool in 4th. And Isaac Kush is rounding off the top 5 at the moment. And Pubed in 6th, though. But again, Jedian does have to make another pit stop with those hard tires looking as they are pretty worn out. And Sweet Car 19 is making up a lot of time on Jer. Is Jer's tires in a worse spot? They are a lap older, but I didn't think it'd be that much of a drop-off in pace. Sweet Car 19 is really starting to catch up to Jer right now, and we're going to have a battle on our hands right now for the lead of this race. Of course, that is the case as long as they don't make the battle on the DRS straight, which in that case you might make the move pretty easily, and then it will be a bit of a dud battle right there. But we're hoping it's within some corners, and we can see some nice side-by-side action between the two championship contenders at the moment right now. With the Giant sitting in 3rd, should make his pit stop rather soon. DRS activated, and he's got it in ERS for a moment there, out of the exit, then puts it back into regular ERS. And here we go, Mr. Cool making a strategic move on his teammate as Jedian lets by his teammate. Now Mr. Cool can try to make a charge on those hard tires towards Sweet Car 19 and Jer. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. Now Sweet Car 19 Pubed with another 3-second time penalty. I believe that is his 2nd one of the race. Isaac Kush sitting in 6th. And IRC Toby has pitted, is sitting in 5th in this race. So he has had a very good race, up 15 positions. And if you got to talk about driver of the day, it's going to be IRC Toby if he can keep that 5th spot and maybe even 6th or 7th, because that is a fantastic drive up the order, starting in last. So about half a second separating the leaders here, Sweet Car 19 and Jer. And Mr. Cool sitting in 3rd, overtaking his teammate pretty easily on that last lap. Jedian in 4th. He's got to contend with Toby, though. Toby's got the medium tires, and they're relatively new mediums, so he is going to be pretty pacey here at the end of this race as we are about 7 laps away from it. And a little bit of a slide to that turn for Sweet Car 19, sliding laterally. And here comes Jer coming across the line to start lap number 21. And about 0.6 of a second separating those two. And now Jedian into the pits. And Isaac Kush back into the top 5. Pubed right behind him. To be fair, Isaac Kush is keeping up with Toby. So Toby, despite the, you would believe, the tire advantage, he is not able to make a huge gap on him. Mr. Cool sitting in 3rd with newer hard tires. It's not so much he's going to maybe catch up to them, I don't think, unless they have a battle that is going to end in some contact. They're pretty nice of each other in terms of that regard. They give each other as little room as possible. We'll see if Mr. Cool can capitalize on the battling. We'll have to wait and see. And here we go. A great exit for Sweet Crown 19. And Jer under pressure now, as that was a really nice exit for Sweet Crown 19. Coming into this right-hand turn, I don't believe he's going to be able to make a move, but he's going to be right on the gearbox here. He might try to make a move on the inside into the turn. No. And so very close to the rear diffuser of Jer, and Jer is under a lot of pressure right now as they're coming towards lap number 22, and despite the undercut working and Jer keeping the lead of the race, Sweet Crown 19 with a definite tire advantage, despite having only about one lap newer tires. So here we go, lap 21. DRS activated, no ERS on the straight. Jer keeping the lead at the moment, but now coming up towards that second DRS straight, Pube is going to have something to contend with, and it's going to be Sweet Crown 19 in his mirrors. And that, I got to tell you, is a very intimidating thing to feel. About 3/10 separating them. It's been about the same with those two separated when they begin the run up to, and now it's about half a second, so that's going to help Jer at least a little bit there. So if they have to battle, they're not going to be battling on the DRS straight. So here we go. DRS activated. Jer running out there. Doesn't want to give Sweet Crown any kind of slipstream advantage. But Sweet Crown 19 with a lot of slipstream, but too far back, keeping it behind Jer for the moment. Mr. Cool has a 3-second time penalty. Now, I don't know about Toby with penalties. Wouldn't it be a scene to see IRC Toby go from last to the podiums if Mr. Cool with that penalty? I don't know what Toby is like right now. He's got the medium tire, so he's definitely going to catch up to Toby, but I don't know if he has any penalties on him or if he's near a penalty. But Kush is still able to keep up with Toby despite being on those hard tires, so good on him. Pubed in 6th position, about a second back, so he is not able to keep up with these drivers. Currently sitting in 6th, just a place down from where he qualified in Q3. And Duwill has made a move on Jamie, and Jamie's had a moment and he spun the car around, and now Carter is going to get a lot of time on him. He's got that medium tire on, so we might see a battle between the two Mercedes teammates. Here comes Sweet Crown 19. He is so very close to Jer, and coming through these turns now where tire grip is everything, Sweet Crown 19 right on the back of that AlphaTauri of Jer, and we might see a move here as Jer gets a really good exit though, and that's allowed him to get about half a second advantage, and that is going to help him immensely. Sweet Crown 19 back with DRS, but I think he's a little bit too far back, and he wasn't able to keep up with Jer through the chicanes, and does stay behind him for the moment. So lap 23 of 27, Sweet Crown 19 is in 2nd position, trying to keep up with Jer. No, he's got a really good exit out of here. He's not going to make the move into this right-hand turn, but he might be able to make it after this right-hand turn. He's going to make a move on the inside. He might look there, but ultimately no. But Jer has a moment. And Jer keeps it, though, in the lead of this race. And Jedian has gone ahead of Gurman, and you can hear a big applause from the fake crowd there. And I feel like I'm watching a baseball game now with that kind of fake applause, but nonetheless, Jedian apparently making a very good move and putting himself up into 11th, and now Carter really catching up to his teammate here, trying to put it into 9th. And here we go, lap 24 about to begin. Just a few laps to go in this race, and here comes Sweet Crown 19 getting close, coming into turn 1, but ultimately staying behind Jer. The battle for the lead of this race, it's been very close, but we haven't seen too many moves. A little bit of side-by-side action between them two in the beginning of the race. Now will we see Sweet Crown 19 be able to make the move? About 4/10 separating these two drivers now, 5/10, almost 6/10 of a second. And Jediant battling with Carter, gets ahead of Carter, and this is not going to help Carter's race at all. And riding on board with Sweet Crown 19 is getting very, very close. He's going to make a move around the outside, and it's going to be Jared with the inside line. This is the battle for the lead. On the inside is Sweet Crown 19. Jared with the better exit with traction, and Sweet Crown 19 slots it behind him for the moment, though. Coming into this flat right-hand turn, he's going to be able to make a move on the inside. He's getting very, very close, and look, right on the rear diffuser there. He's going to make a move on the inside. No, he stays behind him, and Jared somehow kept Sweet Crown 19 behind him and keeps the lead of this Grand Prix. And now Gurman is getting ahead of Carter, so Carter's having problems. He's dropping back a lot, and Carter gets another 3-second time penalty. Whatever happens to that pace with that Mercedes is all but gone, as now he's down to 12th and could be dropping some more positions later on in this race. Not too much left of it to go, though, as we're about to begin lap number 25, and there's going to be 3 laps to go in this race. And Sweet Crown 19 is on the charge right now to take the lead of this race. I don't know what the penalty situation is, though, for Jer and Sweet Crown 19. I think they're about even, which is 0, so it's just a battle on pure racing ability. Who is going to take the lead of this race? And Carter into the pits. So Carter might have had a problem with his tires. Here we go. Back onto the DRS straight, about half a second separating them. That's what Jer needs to keep the lead of this race. It's about half a second that separates them. And here we go. But he's got ERS on Jer. He's going to have it in DRS. He's getting very, very close. Jer's going to give him that outside line again. He's going to dive on the outside, but not able to make the move. Jer keeps it in the lead ahead into that chicane. And look at this, though, Sweet Crown 19. And he's got now side by side coming into this right-hand turn, but it's a slot behind him. And the battle for the lead of this race is into the final few moments. And now he's going to have a move on the inside. Can he make it? And they're going to go side by side through air. Sweet Crown 19, though, on the inside. Jer keeps the lead of the Grand Prix. And this is titanic between the two men who had the best chance of winning the championship in Season 2, but Jer keeps it for the moment. Nathan sets the fastest lap of a 1:37 flat. And we're about to begin lap number 26, penultimate lap of this race. And those hard tires, look at the grain on them. Jer is struggling on those tires, but so is Sweet Crown 19, about equal wear on the tires. But Sweet Crown 19 with a lot better pace coming into turn 1, not able to make a move there, about 3/10 separating them. But Mr. Cool, through all of this, is catching up to these top 2. So now he can try to get into the battle for the lead of the race. Sweet Crown 19 into the chicane, trying to keep up with Jer. It's about that 5/10 that he needs Jer to keep Sweet Crown 19 behind him. Now they're going to go through here. Can he get that 5/10 of a second? No, he can't. It's going to be about 4/10 separating them. Here we go. ERS activated. Jer will do all he can. He might move to the outside line. Now it's going to be an outside dive. Sweet Crown 19 goes for the lead, and he takes the lead of the Grand Prix away from Jer coming into the chicane. And Jer could do all he could, but not able to keep the Sweet Crown 19 machine up behind him. And Sweet Crown 19 takes the lead of the Grand Prix. But now Jer, with those struggling hard tires, is going to drop back a little bit, but he's got Mr. Cool on his tail with those newer hard tires. And now Jer has to contend with him on the final lap, possibly. Toby in 4th position. Isaac Kush getting very close to Toby, though. Those medium tires about to wear off just about now, and Kush might be able to make a move up into number 4 in this race. And look at this, Jer is dropping back a little bit from Sweet Crown 19, and Sweet Crown 19 has taken the lead. And I don't know about penalties, but I think Sweet Crown 19 is going to be your winner of this French Grand Prix unless something happens on the final lap of this race. Kush now in the slipstream of Toby. DRS activated, then deactivates in the turn 1. It's about 4/10 separating these drivers. It's all or nothing on the final lap. It's Toby who has some... No, he does not have a lot of ERS to play with. You can see the steering wheel right there. Not a lot to play with. Isaac Kush, not a lot to play with either, though. But on this final lap, he will put all he can. Toby with a little bit of wheel spin on the rear tires. And here we go. Final lap. Final opportunity. Going to try to get it into 4th. DRS activated. Here comes the ERS. Toby's a sitting duck. Let's see what he can do. And he's going to try to make a move on the outside. And there's a double move into the braking zone, but Kush trying to put it on the inside. Not able to make it happen. Toby keeps it in 4th position. It was a bit of a double move in that braking zone, though. And Toby keeps it, though. But now Kush is going to try to go on the inside into this flat right enter and go side by side. And it's going to take 4th position away from Toby. And what a battle for 4th position. And now it's going to be Toby. He's going to try to put it on the inside here. Can he make it happen? No, Kush is going to close the door. But here comes Sweet Crown 19 with a titanic battle for the lead. It went up to the wire, but Sweet Crown 19 ultimately got it, and he's about to come around the penultimate turn, and then the final turn, a little bit of a lock up there, but Sweet Crown 19 is going to win the French Grand Prix. Penalties I don't think are going to play here, and there's your top 2. Here comes Mr. Cool, going to finish on the podium with a great race. No, he's going to drop down because of penalties, and Kush on the podium again. And what a race from Kush. Toby gonna finish in 4th after his penalties. So Kush on track finishes behind Toby, but he gets ahead in penalties, so I think he'll feel a little bit happy about that. Pube will finish in 6th. Going down the order here, we still have some battles to contend with here as Gurman will finish in 11th, and no, 10th for Bazim, and then Andrafta finishes in 10th. Pillars, 12 seconds back from them, will finish in 13th. Knight finishes in 14th position, and Carter down in 15th, going to score the final point of this race. And it's been a disappointing race for him. And no, Knight drops down to 15th. He had a lot of penalties on him, about 9 seconds, I thought. Maybe a little bit more. I wasn't paying attention too much in those final moments. Nathan will be the final person to cross the line to finish in 16th, just outside of the points. Only 2 drivers not going to score points here, Nathan and Light F1. But Sweet Crown 19 wins the race after what was a crazy Tier 1 race here in France. Jer finishing on the podium in 2nd, and it's Isaac Kush who will put it on 3rd after penalties, and he'll be very, very happy to finish where he did. And my voice is about as tired as maybe those drivers are, and it's IRC Toby who will rightfully take Driver of the Day up to 4th position from near last. 19 positions up in that race at one point, and the selfie taken by Michael Schumacher. And there's your winner. It's Sweet Crown 19 who wins another one here in ISRL Esports. That's 2 wins in a row and 2 wins on the trot. And there's Jer, his championship rival, and Isaac Kush puts it on the podium again here with another fantastic drive from him. And he can just do no wrong in the races. Let's go over your final lineup here. And it's Sweet Crown 19 in 1st, 2nd for Jer, Isaac Kush in 3rd, 4th for IRC Toby, Mr. Cool in 5th, 6th for Pube, Do Will in 7th, Sophion in 9th, 9th for Jedian, 10th for Drafta, Gurman in 11th, Jamian in 12th, 13th for Infamous Pillars, 14th for Carter, and rounding off the points is ISRL Knight in 15th, 16th for Nathan, and Light F1 in 17th. Jerome does not finish the race, neither does Lewis, and Biz Racing in 20th, not finishing the race either. So we'll have the podium interviews in just a moment there, but there's your top 3, Sweet Crown 19, Jer, and Kush on the podium here. And what a Tier 1 race we had, ladies and gentlemen. And my voice is feeling it rather hurtingly. But just about what we expected, medium to hards. Jer thought he had it with the undercut, not able to make it happen though. Jer finishing in 2nd. It was a great battle though for the lead. What we want to see in Tier 1 between those 2 drivers. A mega battle in France for the win here. Sweet Crown 19 though takes it away. And I'll get into the showroom. I'll invite the drivers and we'll see how they thought the race went for them. Sweet Crown 19 has not joined my parties for interviews in just a little while, so I don't know if he's going to join again, but we'll definitely get Jer and Isaac Kush in here. So let me just leave the session right there. We'll get into the showroom. And let's put it on the Williams right there. And let's start inviting our drivers into the party for the post-race interviews. Of course, they never show up. It seems everybody's just getting off. I'm getting all offlines unless they're appearing offline, which might be the case. Well, we have you in here, Jer, in just a second. I'm trying to spell Izat's name correctly, and there we go. It's two Z's. Hope to get some a PG interview this time on the YouTube stream. But, Jer, let's talk with you. You finished in second, and to say it was a titanic battle would be an understatement. Sweet Cronantinus joins in there, actually. But let's get to you, Jer, first. Actually, we can get the both of you, as you had amazing battle in France. Talk us through it, Jer, as those final few laps, it looked like Sweet Crown had the pace on tires. What's your reaction after the race?
Yeah, I knew it's easy on this track just to stick behind someone in a DRS, safe DRS, and I knew he would come at me in the last couple of laps, and I tried my best to defend it, but yeah, it was impossible. I would wreck myself if I tried to defend it.
And Sweet Crown, the undercut from Jer working, and he was able to get ahead of you, but you were able to get ahead of him in the final laps. Talk us through those final few laps there for you. The difficulty to get ahead, or were you just waiting and biding your time?
Oh, really?
Oh, no, there you go. There's your top two. And Isaac Kush, in the most PG way possible, talk us through your race. You got up to third position. It's another, not the best qualifying, but a better race. Talk us through that. What was your reaction for the race?
I think it was quite a boring race, actually. Once I lost DRS from the top two, I was just like in a world of my own, battling with Mr. Q. And then after the pit stops, Mr. ISRL Knight, the registered sex offender, decided to hit me out of nowhere, and I was pissed, man. I was pissed. I was like, oh man, I'm flying to Canada and kicking his ass, dude. But I stayed cool. I stayed Mr. Cool, you know, and I realized that Mr. Q had more penalties than me, and I just wanted to get within 3 seconds and get the podium.
Well, great from there. This time it wasn't Kush, though. We're just going to end here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching ISRL Esports. This has been the Tier 1 Championship, round number 2 in France. There are your top three, Sweet Crown, Jer, and Izad Kush. And thank you so much for joining us. Make sure to join us next week as we get set for more action in ISRL Esports. My name's IGKX. Thank you so much for watching, and have yourselves a wonderful PG